everybody. My name is Cliff, and this is the beginning of a boot camp series for the game Off the Line by Mike Nagel and Relative Range Games, also produced by Blue Panther, US printer. So Off the Line is a relatively new addition to the pantheon of World War II tactical war games. And I just wanted to spend a little time introducing people to the game, giving my thoughts, making it easier for new players to pick up the game and get going, easier for interested people to see what this is all about. So I bought this game myself and both of the current expansions, so I'm not a paid shill for the game. I'm here as just a fellow gamer to tell you the pros and cons of this system, mostly pros, what it's all about, and why I think you should probably think about getting it. So, Zilla Blitz, Mike, recently posted a video kind of doing an overview of Off the Line, and I'm not going to recapitulate all of that here. He does a great job, and I'm sure that Grant and Alexander over at Player's Aid will probably do another one too. And I'm not a big person for doing unboxings, so the purpose of this, my first video to go in the boot camp, is to just give you sort of an overview, a look and feel. What does this thing look like? What does it feel like compared to all the other games that are parts of this pantheon of games? So, like I said, Off the Line was World War II tactical, man-on-man skirmish game. So there's going to be some titles that immediately pop into your mind. Things like Combat Leader, Close Assault, Firepower, Ambush, and Combat. Some of these go back to the 1980s, like Close Assault with Yakinto Games, Firepower, an early Avalon Hill game, Ambush from Victory Games, all back in the 80s. This is a hex encounter game like those, and you are going to be driving around single men. There will usually be one squad versus one squad with fairly simple 5/8 inch counters. The map is larger than all those other games in the sense that the hexes are larger. They only represent 15 meters or so, but these are 1 5/8 inches from flat to flat, face to face, and 1 7/8 inches from apex to apex. So these counters have a lot of room in here, and you can get a lot of counters in a hex if you want. There are no stacking limits. Line of sight is much like any old war game. It is very uncomplicated, and I would have to say, if there's a characteristic for this game, it would be uncomplicated. It is kind of stripped down, not in a bad way, to the bare essentials to give you everything you're looking for a 1v1 or solo tactical war game with individual soldiers, about a squad each. The maps themselves, the base game comes with 12 double-sided maps, and the 2 expansions that are available now give you another 12. So that's 24 maps with Summerside on one side and the same map in winter on the other, giving you 48 maps already. So these scenarios all take 2 maps, which means when you've got 24 to pick from, 24 times 23 is like 500 different combinations you can do of 2 maps. And you can orient these any way you like because they're geomorphic, which reminds me of, like Advanced Squad Leader. So the maps can go together in any variety of ways. So just with the first 24 maps, you've got over 1,000 different ways to arrange them, times 2 because you've got the winter maps. So you got a couple thousand ways to put together maps to give you a variety of tactical situations to deal with. So that's a real plus. Let's see, the overall sequence of play sort of reminds me of 65. If you're familiar with that squad level game with Vietnam, in that this is a card driven game And the first thing you do is you draw your cards. And then you determine initiative. And then you give orders. It's I go, you go. There are random events, and then there's a cleanup phase. That's really it. It's pretty simple. The cards will remind you of Upfront, and that's on purpose because Upfront was the main inspiration, I feel, for this game. I think that Mike agrees. He says so in his designer notes. The cards are used to do everything in this game. There are many parts up here, number of orders you can give. I'm going to go through all of this in the boot camp. So I'll describe this in great detail. These are the random events here, random hex generation. This is for the solo bot here. And the columns here, 2 through 10, are where you're going to draw your basically die rolls from. This is a random number generator. Low numbers in this game are always better. I say always with an asterisk. When we get to firing, there's sort of a way you got to think around low numbers being good, but low numbers are good. High numbers are bad. Low columns are better because you're more likely to get a low number with a low column. A 2, you're either going to get 1s or 2s. Whereas up here at a 10, you can get a 1 through 10. So you're less likely to get a low number. They are marked with a few mnemonics. We got HF for hold fire, which I'll talk about. RF for reaction fire. These are like opportunity fire. KIA, the 10 column, is used for checking for KIAs. And there are things like these yellow numbers, which are going to have to do with weapon jams, and red numbers have to do with KIA checks, amongst a few other things. Sometimes they have to do with routing. So the cards are the heart of the game, and there's 120 of them. It's base 60. Mike chose 120 because that number is divisible by the most of these numbers. Some of these numbers don't divide into 120 evenly, and therefore there's going to be some cards that have an R for redraw. That's how he gets around it. The random events remind me of Combat Commander. There are not as many random events here as Combat Commander, and I consider that to be a good thing. I'm not running down any games here, so don't get all up in my grill. I like Combat Commander. But it does get a bit chaotic at times. There's so many things popping off that I start to lose track of what's going on. Here, during the random event check phase, you draw a card, and if it has a question mark, that means a random event occurs, and you draw another card to read what it is. Or sometimes you get a card that has this icon, that's shuffling the action deck. So this deck will get shuffled a lot. These cards are not particularly heavy. They're a nice quality, but I'm going to sleeve them. Even though I hate shuffling sleeved cards, I'm going to sleeve them because these things are going to get shuffled a lot. Let's see. The rules, as I said, are only about 24 pages long, and they're summarized pretty well on the player aid card. There's one player aid card. It's double-sided, gives you all your terrain effects. We'll talk about terrain later. And on the back side, we get the player aid where we can get a sequence of play reference and instructions for the main processes like firing, melee, dealing with jams, morale checks, trying to rally. This is about, in my estimation, 95% complete. Not everything that you need is here. One of the little quibbles, well, there's only a couple little quibbles I have with the game, and these are not big, and I would highly recommend you to get the game, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to give you my honest feelings. You can take it for what it's worth. If you like other games better, that's cool. The best war game is the one you're enjoying playing right now. That's my philosophy. I've got no vested interest in this game, but I really like it. However, I want you to know what you're getting into if you buy it. So, little quibbles. The rules are complete, but the rules are not all together 100%. A lot of the different parts of the rules interact with each other in interesting ways, but that scatters them around. Some rules are only found on the cards. Some are found only on the player aid card, the terrain effect chart. Some are found in the rule book, but they're in different parts of the rule book. So part of the reason I'm doing this boot camp is to draw 100% of everything together on one sheet and explain everything together so that you don't lose track of little details. Totally playable, but I would get scattered. So I'm doing that for this reason. Plus, I find that teaching something is the best way to learn something, and this is the main way I'm going to be learning the game system better. Other little quibbles are the maps are great. They're like 11 by 17 maps printed by Blue Panther, but the printing offsets are not perfect, at least not on my maps. We're losing about 5 millimeters off the side of each map, so you lose the center dots on the half hexes. When you fit your maps together, there's like a 1 centimeter gap to get the hexes all to register properly. That is not a big deal, but it bugs me a little bit. So when I set the game up, I take a third map and I lay it underneath so that I can restore that centimeter and get my hex dots back. That's how I work around it. I lay plexi on top. 18 by 24 works perfectly to cover the two map scenarios. That would be 450 millimeters by 600 millimeter perspex if you're across the pond. Innovations here are basically simplicity. This is a really streamlined system and it plays really nicely. I like the solo system, the solitaire assistance. They call it the Assisted Enemy Player, AEP. I just call it the ape. I play against the ape. I like that better. So it plays solo, great. It also plays two-handed, fine. There's not a lot of hidden information. You do, at the beginning, have all your soldiers coming out as unspotted. So both sides will be unspotted. So that's harder playing two-handed that way. Using the ape is easier. And then once you're spotted, they get flipped over permanently. Other things are just the flexibility of this system. Mike is planning on coming out with the Russians and the Finns and probably the French as well. We already have the Italians, the British, the Americans, and the Germans. I mean, short of a few minor nations, this will be complete for any tactical situation in World War II. There's already, as I said, 48 maps with more coming. There will be as many maps as something like Combat Commander, and you'll be able to model any squad level battle you want in World War II. And there's nothing stopping you from adding more maps and going to like 4 map panels and playing a platoon action, 2 squads up, 1 in reserve, which I'm already thinking about. Kind of salivating, creating a solitaire sort of campaign system using a platoon of soldiers, because Mike's really generous and he gives you like 80 Americans, 80 Germans, so you could easily set up a platoon and have a reserve element. Limitation-wise, not a lot. I mean, this is a great 2-person game. Yugo is easy enough to accomplish, easy system to teach. The physical components are just fine. I find these counters clear, very thick, laser cut. They pop right off the sprue. I'm not going to clip them. They're too thick for that. And the corners are clean anyway because the way they come off the sprue, they leave little tabs on the center of each face if they leave anything. I'm not a fan of center tabs, but they're very inconsequential here. It is not going to give you the same kind of solitaire experience as something like, oh, I don't know, Purple Haze, a game I've gotten this year, which is paragraph based, or like Ambush, which is paragraph based, which will drive a really detailed but one trick pony kind of narrative. This will generate a narrative, but there's really no campaign system at all at the current time. I really want a campaign system, and if one's not forthcoming, I'm going to make one, because this game just deserves it. Not everything's modeled here. Like I said, this is a really kind of a streamlined game. So there are not things modeled like Wire, or there's no system for wounds. There's no system to deal with prisoners. All that is just sort of kind of abstracted in. There are a few artillery strikes from off-board and air strikes to support, but those are random events, as is, I need more coffee, appropriate for a game of this scale. There is a variety of terrain, everything you would expect: woods, hills, buildings, urban, rural, streams, bridges. I love bridges. Bocage, sunken roads, you name it, it's in here. And with the flexibility, this thing basically, the sky's the limit. I really, really like this system. The solitaire may not be as strong as, well, it depends on how you look at it. Something like Combat from Compass Games. This has a lot less counters on the board, which is a good thing. Counter management over the board is a bit much with Combat. I like the system there, in that you never know what it's going to do, but this system gives you enough variety, but it's not as directed as Combat. So you're going to have to do a bit of the thinking for the system. It's just going to tell you that this unit that you're activating wants to move, or it wants to fire, or it wants to rally, and you have to decide how best to do that depending upon the current situation. But that's both a good thing and a limitation. So I consider it to be a wash, or maybe a good thing overall. So overall, very positive vibes about this game. Mike has been on BGG a lot, feeding into the forums, answering questions when people want clarification. I feel like the game is well supported. Like I said, it plays really nice and easily, and it's got a lot of tactical variety, way more tactical variety than you're going to get out of most games. And the price is not bad. So those are some of my initial thoughts about this game off the line. And I'm going to develop a series of these short videos where I'm going to look at different processes or parts of the game and explain each in detail, bringing in 100% of the rules that are relevant and explaining them like a friend teaching you over a tape. And hopefully some of you will find that useful or interesting. And until then, I will see you in the next video.